Okay, my friends, here it is. This Saturday morning live stream at the Garden Like a Viking headquarters, Zone 5/6, Northern Indiana. Let us know where you're at and what you've still got growing. If you have still got beets in the ground, I heard a lot of you guys talking about beets in the ground, and probably got some carrots in the ground. If you live in a moderately mild climate, you can just cut the tops off the carrots and bury them in like a foot of straw. Works really good, actually. But here in northern Indiana, it will eventually get so cold that they just freeze solid, and then they turn to mush when they do that. But they'll still be fine, except that when they thaw a little bit. But this year we have harvested them all, and I will show you what we are doing with them here shortly. We will talk about things like this amazing, delicious, beautiful bounty that's, look how it's fermenting hardcore. Can you see it? Can you see the bubbles? It's very effervescent at the moment. So we got a couple of different ferments happening. Well, we got like 20 different ferments happening, but I will show you the ones we got and how they're going. Okay, so let's see who is here. Let's see. What's up, Donald Hughes? Thank you. Says the sound is great. Okay, that's what I need to know. Thank you. What's up, Big Wes? What's up, Chris D. Miller? What's up, Leslie Spites? I haven't seen that name here in a while. Good to see you again. Hopefully you had a wonderful season. Case says, still have red beets in the garden. They got tough, so using them for kvass. Yes, good idea. What kind of beets were they? If they were the Bettina, the new beet that came from Baker Creek seeds, then they probably wouldn't get tough. Cylindra, you know, they can, when they get super big, they can get kind of tough, but man, you've seen, and I didn't even bring any right now because you've seen them so much the past couple of weeks, that the beets are amazing for fermenting. They have gotten so, I mean, I can't even explain how they're just delicious. And so we probably just going to do Bettinas next year. I don't see any reason to do any others for the moment, you know, because once you find something that suits your needs better, then, you know, there's no need to like go back to something that suits them less ideally, you know, and that's what we would be doing. Even though up until this year, the Cylindra beet was my favorite of all. So, you know, but things have to change a little bit. Things can change. Also, one of my favorite new things is the aroma basil. The aroma basil. Aroma 2, actually. It's like a it's not really technically a hybrid though. I'm not sure exactly what is going on with it, but we saved a bunch of seeds because when you get the seeds from Urban Farmer, ufseeds.com, you get like 10 seeds in the pack. I mean, it must be a shy seed producer, I guess, maybe, but mine have produced boatloads of seeds. Oh my goodness. And it's not like the Genovese basil. Genovese basil, we grew it last year, and I'm not doing it again. It's like the analgesic, is that the right term, where it numbs your whole mouth? Like if you've ever eaten the toothache plant, have you ever grown that? We grew that a couple years ago. The toothache plant. Put it in there and your whole mouth just feels metallic and starts kind of getting numb a little bit. I mean, big time for the toothache plant. But the Genovese basil was like that. And it just kind of like dark black licorice taste. You know, really, really strong black licorice is what it tastes like. So it's kind of not really that enjoyable to me. But the aroma is like, it's more what I began growing several years ago that just doesn't have a name or whatever. I forget where I even got it from. And more like the kind that they sell at the grocery store, you know, when you get the basil. It's not that strong Genovese stuff. It is like just a sweet, maybe a sweet Italian variety, but you'll know when you smell it. That's the key. You'll know when you smell it. When you smell this stuff, you smell pesto. You smell pesto. Oh yeah. There's absolutely no mistaking it, and that is what we are into. because we have the other basils for all different kinds of stuff. We eat basil a lot during the growing season. That is one of our top crops that we eat. Leafy greens and stuff, stir fries. We love because we get a whole hog from our friend. Thank you, Chad, that raises them, and so he gives us the whole hog, and so we get a lot of it made into ground pork, ground pork. But there's lots of other things that we get from it. But the ground pork works really good for the pad kapow. Yes, the stir fry made from basil and pork and chilies. A little bit of fish sauce, a little bit of, a couple of other things, but not much. And then topped with a bunch of green onions. Super good. Sliced really thin. And so the basils out there, as you guys will see in the course, you will see the amazing basil bed that we had this year. Pretty much every plant and every bed was the best ever, with this new system. I just couldn't ask for more. And so we're going to replicate the exact thing again next year. And the basil, we had like 5-6 different kinds of basil all in a row, just exploding with growth. And so we would go out there and just, pick a bunch of the basil and then just throw it into the wok. You have to kick the wok on super high. So it's, because in Thailand, the woks, in Southeast Asia, when you get street food, the wok, WOK, the instrument of cooking, there, it is like a blast furnace. They're like, oh, you want pad thai? You want pad thai? And it's like a jet engine, taking off. And they're put some oil on there, it bursts into flames, and it's done like that, So here we don't really have those same capabilities. We just have a little domesticated, stove. So we just turn it on high. It still fills the whole place with smoke, but it's not like exactly the same. But still, we stir fry all the time. That's the point. And the basil you add at the very end. After stir frying everything else, the pork is in there, the sauce is in there. Right at the end, you throw in like 3 massive handfuls, like probably 4 cups of basil, and just let it wilt. Put that over rice. So good, so amazingly good. So that's one of our favorite summertime meals. And for that, we will use, since we're on the topic of basil, we will use some Thai basil. Okay, now silver sage. Let's talk about that in a moment. So we have been growing like 3 different kinds of Thai basil, like Siam Queen, and Sweet Thai. I forget the exact, the 3 names. I would have to look at the seed packets again. 3 different Thai basils, all right? And even as refined as our palate is, we can tell a difference between them, really. It tastes like Italian basil or Thai basil. I mean, that's pretty much, so we just actually went through on the Thai basils and just collected Thai basil from all 3 of the strains of different Thai basils. They were basically indistinguishable. You'd probably have to be, from that culture to really understand the differences. But we couldn't really discern it, and to try and keep them all separate was like kind of a pain, kind of not necessary. Not necessary to keep them all separate, to have 3 little bags of every little thing, and then to try and, keep them all separate. Oh, don't let that cross. Just label it all as Thai, and it's all going to be good. So that's what we do. And we make lots of pesto with the aroma, though. We make pesto and store it for the wintertime. Freezes beautifully, okay? But we wanted to. We didn't preserve any of the Thai basil this year. So I actually never have the Thai basil. So I would like to, this upcoming year, we're probably going to make some kind of a thing that can be used in a stir fry a couple of times, like a coarsely chopped, maybe with oils and then frozen. We'll have to see exactly how we're going to do that. We'll have to see. Yes, Christy Miller says label that Tri Thai. exactly. This is new Thai basil. Have you had? Hmm. Um, what's up, Val? Yes. Good to see you here. So that's the thing on Thai. Yes. Oh yeah. Look to nature. We got the cinnamon basil as well. We got cinnamon basil. That's definitely one that we're keeping. And well, lime basil. Lemon basil was okay, but it tastes exactly like lemon balm and all any other thing that is like lemon, you know. But the lime basil is totally out of this world to us, to me. I mean, in our uses, to mix with watermelon juice. Wow, from the Alibaba. Yes, guys, now we're floating in the realms of the elite growers, okay? Of the royalty of Alibaba watermelon juice with some lime basil blended into it, and maybe just a little bit of the berries and cream mint, yes, or the black currant mint. That's what we're talking about. Okay, very good, very delicious, no doubt. But to look to nature. If you need any of these, you can let me know. I think you've got them all, of course. But if you, because you know you've sent me a lot of things, so I would be happy to reciprocate if you needed some aroma seeds. But I think you have them all, anyways. I'm sure. So back to Silver Sage's question, Nate. When does your restaurant open? Me and Camille talk about this a lot, and it is that because you know I know that I have some good cooking skills, definitely, because I cook from the heart, and I just know I have world cuisine experience in different parts of the world, flavor combinations, stuff. But first and foremost, beyond anything else, it's my passion. I mean, it is so deeply ingrained in my heart, you know, that what you put into the body is so important. What you put into the body determines your experience in this life, meaning food, meaning thoughts, meaning energies, all of that stuff. But the one that we have direct finite control over here in this um, physical world is food, definitely. So it's just so important. And it makes such a big difference when it is raised with the love vibration, the love energy. And I don't mean that in like a, woo woo kind of way. I really mean that in like a way that is, everything is energy, everything is vibrations, and everything is energy, a sea of waveform energy. And when you cook things that you have grown yourself with the love, and you know it is all nutrient dense, and the plants are happy, and everything is just happy, it's different. You're feeding energetically as well. So it's a really like a sacred experience. And so when it goes that deep, when your flavor profile starts in the compost, with when when you're when you consider cooking from scratch, the ingredients that actually went into the compost, then now we're talking. Now we're on like the same page. They're like, "Oh, we cook from scratch." Well, okay, that's good. But how from scratch? You know? So when you're at that level, then when you take it that not seriously, but sincerely. When you take it that sincerely, then one surefire way to make that evaporate and to kill that passion and love is to try and do it for a business. Is to try and say, okay, well, remember what we've been talking about the past several weeks has been, when you're young, you always hear, find something you love to do and make a job out of it, and you'll never work a day in your life. Uh-huh. Yeah, okay. I get it, and that's nice, and it's relatively true. And that was the driving force of what I was doing. Find something you love and then make a job out of it. You'll never work a day in your life. But then, as time went on and my life experience went on, I found also the other statement is true that find something you love to do and make a job out of it, and then it becomes work. It becomes work. Okay. And I found this to be true. And so when you take something like the passion for cooking and the passion for growing and all of that, and you start market gardening or you start trying to sell your stuff at the farmer's market, or you start trying to sell your food, cook stuff for people, oh, then that becomes a job. And now all of a sudden people are paying for your produce. And so they feel entitled to complain about certain things, or they're paying for your meals. And so the first time someone sent something back, I'd just be like, well, then get out. Just get out. I would come right out to the front of the restaurant and say, you, get out, get out, And so, because that's not how it's done. That's not how so for that, I will never sell the food like directly like that. Maybe at the school one day, at the land, at the school, we'll have like a seed to table or a seed to fork kind of little thing, maybe, but it'll probably just be more in the courses. I'll cook for everybody. We'll be cooking massive amounts for everybody and feasting on the long table. That's pretty much how it will be done. It won't be like directly selling any of the food or selling the produce. That is a surefire way to quench that fire. So I've been very careful not to do that, or not to even remotely think about doing that. Everyone is like, oh, you should sell your stuff at the farmer's market. This stuff is delicious and beautiful. And, okay, yes, but I would never even consider that. So I would totally. I'd be like, hey, who was that guy that complained? Get him, get out of here. You ain't coming back. Smile at the camera. Don't let him back in. I was like, he ain't coming back. Anybody else have a problem? That would be my that would be my restaurant. Mm-hmm. Yes. Let's see. Chris Miller says, same kind of thing with anything grown and consumed. Great to you. Express that passion, though. I've been slowly transitioning my love, dedication to this plant over to the vegetable garden. Yes, well, I'll tell you what, it can be done, because if you guys know me, of course, then you know that that's where I got my roots all those years ago. And although that plant is entirely out of my life now, the skills, and that's where I developed the passion. That's where I learned all those years in Northern California, is where I learned to speak the language of the plants. And I just learned so much. It was like a boot camp, a 10-year boot camp that just. So now we translate it to growing our own vegetables and stuff, and it's just magnificent. But we still have the old, gotta grow the best, the highest quality, the most beautiful, the nutrient dense, the most flavorful, the maximum, yield for given space and stuff. All those kind of things that framework is still there. That's why my growing advice is so much different than basically anyone else on YouTube, as far as their, like Charles Dowding and stuff like that. Wonderful channels, of course, all the gardening channels, Hugh Richards and stuff, big channels, really good, but they just don't have the same resume or pedigree. I don't know what you want to call it. They just don't have the same outlook on it. It's different from me. And you can't help that, because when you're trained, when the childhood of your passion is in a certain place, that's the program that you carry on, of course. And I have no intention of doing anything different, because for me, it's just a love, a passion, So those are my thoughts on that. What's up, Big Will Dog? Let's see. Melvina, hello, my friend, says, Nate, I've been watching your old live videos. Did you get your book written yet? You know what? I actually stopped the book because I felt I was forcing it too much. And I felt so much more compelled to make courses, of course. And so we are pretty much next Saturday live stream, we will have the pre-sale for the gardening course. Yeah, it will be live. And so you can get that in, because February 16th, the price will double. It will double. And so for that reason, I have stopped the book writing, because it doesn't speak to me in the same way. I mean, for me personally, I used to read a lot of books, especially if you watch my earlier Thrive stuff. I was constantly reading books. Took a speed reading course from Jim Quick, you know who I'm talking about, and not super fast, but fast enough. And so I was like burning through books, a book a week, basically. For me, that, good size, like, and not fantasy books, but like, uh, um, different kind of books. So I was wanting to write, but then now the whole landscape has sort of changed. And so I don't really read much anymore, but I take every course I can find. If I want to know something, I take a course on it. And so hopefully, most of them are pretty well made. But a good course for me, is so much easier to learn from because the person demonstrates it. It's in little modules and it's laid out in a certain way. And if they do the course right, it's a trajectory taking you from this place to that place, the desired goal. And so I can learn, like, I could read pages and pages and pages of like a blog or like an instruction manual and stuff, and it wouldn't do anything compared to just like one 5-minute video on the topic. Just show me it or explain it in a visual sort of way, and bam, I got it, you know? So, with that in mind, I was like, you know what? I'm not feeling compelled to write the book anymore, to all the work that would go into it. And because I don't even like that style of teaching or communication anymore. And so I redirected those efforts to the courses, which are every bit as monumental of a task as writing a book, definitely. So that's what that is. Oh, yes. Thank you, Rick. Thank you, Rick. Show comments on stage. It should be doing it should be doing the comments on the replay. You should see all the comments on the side. So I don't really understand. I mean, can you guys see the live chat? I'm sure you can. I'm sure you can. Chris Miller, yeah, okay. So the overhead, that's another thing. And me and Viking Uncle were just talking about that, and we were like, you know what? Like, once you start making a business out of something, you're looking to optimize. Of course, you're looking to optimize, which means cut cost, which means, okay, well, in my home cooking, I spare no expense. I don't even think about price in any way whatsoever. So I mean, within reason, of course, not like extravagant, nonsensical luxuries, but quality, you know. So once, and that's for me and the ones I love and in my circle, I will use that kind of stuff. But if I was doing it for a business, surely I would say, well, you know what? We don't have to render down our own suet or our own tallow and our own lard. I mean, we don't have to, go that far. Make our own bone broth and stuff when we can buy crates of it for, much cheaper and much less time involved. And it's relatively similar flavor, you would convince yourself, it's fine. Let's just push it through because it makes you money. Once the goal, so it all depends on the goal. So what's the objective? What's the incentive? If the objective is to feed your loved ones the highest quality, the highest vibrational, highest nutrient density stuff that you can possibly create, then that's done one way. That's what I do now. That's what we do now. But if your goal is to make money, then that's what we're going to do. And then we're going to, all that other stuff will become secondary. And we're going to, get the oil in the big bulk section that, it's not, I mean, it doesn't really matter that much, does it? You convince yourself and you would just start cutting corners everywhere. And so it would turn into something that's diluted and commercial. That's why no commercial food can possibly be as good. If they're selling it for a profit, then they have optimized or they will soon optimize for profit, just because that's the nature of the beast. That's how you got to do it. And I was feeling that even earlier this spring when I made those buckets of the granular fertilizer. Okay, so I was like, hey, I was running some numbers in my mind, and I was like, well, sure. I mean, there's a profit in there and stuff. I wasn't really thinking about all of it. I was just making the best quality stuff that I know can be made, the fertilizer, and that's what I'm using here. And so I started selling it, and I quickly realized, oh wait, so that's why so many of these fertilizer out ingredients that you see, like even high quality ones like the MI Gardener Trifecta Plus, uses just bulk composted poultry manure, from commercial poultry farms, because it's super cheap and it works. It's compost. I mean, it's bulk composted commercial chicken manure. So can have. I'm not into it. I don't use it. Because, and we used to, but I just don't like it. I don't feel it's the best. And so to achieve that, a much better result, I use different ingredients, but it cost multiple times the amount. So it's like, all right, well, once you start selling it for a business though, you got to optimize. So you're going to need to get that cottonseed meal instead of that kelp meal, or what, you know what I'm saying? You got to just start cutting costs. So, so that's just, and you don't really realize those things until you do it, and I would say in my mind, while you're still in the thinking and planning phase of whatever business or whatever you're doing, you're like, I would never cut costs like that. My integrity is the most important thing to me, and okay, I get that. And me too, that's why I'm not doing the fertilizer because it's you're like, no, you're thinking about it, and it sounds like I would just maintain exactly, my morals as far as all that goes. But then when you're there lifting the 50-pound bags yourself on your own back, mixing it up and boxing it up, selling it, getting the pallets of all the stuff, and you're like, oh man, this is a whole different ball game. Whole different ball game than what it was when it was locked up in your mind as a concept. It was so easy then, but now that you're under the weight of that 50-pound bag, literally and metaphorically, everything is different. Now your tune will change a little bit, and you're like, well, you know what? We could do this differently. We could do this differently. Yes. So let's see here. Oh yeah, growing Yodfa and Ivarsky peppers because of this channel. Yes, those are two of my absolute staples. Absolute staples. Oh, I know, Silver Sage, and I know that you would understand that before even saying it, but I just wanted to use that as a talking point. Because like Chonky Boy says, your restaurant would cost $70 a plate at the level you would like to cook at. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely, it would have to. And then it would attract a certain type of clientele, that's got money and that's got everything needs to be exactly how they desire it to be, that those kind of people. No. Nope. So Matthew was talking about Yod Fa and Ivarskis. Another staple is now the Liut shower. Okay? Liut shower. The Hungarian spicy paprika. But I tell you what, it's different than just taking the Ivarsky smoked paprika, delicious, and then adding like a cayenne or a fish pepper. It's different. This tastes like smoked, slightly spicy, basically butter. And once you get the flavor of it, you get, I'm holding it out like you're going to smell it. And once you get the flavor of it, oh my goodness. Guys, I'm telling you, if you want a wow factor to your cooking that people just can't place, you got to do this. You got to grow your own peppers, and you got to get them smoked with the right type of wood and at the right length of time and done the right way. And that's the number one thing that people are like, wow, how do you get that? Oh my goodness. Now, the only reason that I blended up this much at one time is because we needed the space, actually. But typically, I would do half that size because it will take some time to use that much. And you want to keep all of your peppers and all your spices that you can whole until you need to use them. That's the way to do it, definitely. Bushcraft Baron, yes, says, really looking forward to the fertilizer course. Will be well worth the investment. Yes, so down the road, we will do an actual fertilizer course, definitely. But this first course is going to have everything you need to know about granulars and also two different other kind of fertilizers. But I'm going to take you through because I'm not going to be mixing up much. I'll mix up, some buckets this spring for you guys, but not like on a scale. I'm just instantly sold out. As soon as I post it, it's sold out. So I'm going to instead show you guys how you can mix your own granular fertilizer based upon your exact needs. Okay, so based upon if you want to be growing leafy greens primarily, or if you want a full season heavy feeder such as squash and tomatoes. Okay, that is a different mix entirely. Yeah. So we're going to show you how to do all that so that you can custom tailor it exactly to your own desires. But then we'll also show you one that is just the all around. You don't have to buy any bags of fertilizer for anything. So you'll see. Justin Millward, the Messiah of soil, samurai of self-preservation, the one true gardener who stays true to his words, lifestyle and passion for truth. Miss the live streams too often. Looking forward to the courses. Yes, thank you so much. You know what? You're the ideal candidate to send me a testimonial, please. And I need more testimonials from you guys. I only got one video testimonial. It was awesome. It's from Treats. So thank you very much. It's on the website. You guys will be able to see it when it goes live next Saturday. But why don't you write a little testimonial? And I need a picture of you, okay? Or I could even take a screenshot of that probably, but just write something that is would entice other people into the tribe so that they know that this is of high value and that they will be able to understand on a much deeper level growing, the art of growing, not just how to 5 tips for tomatoes, but no, how to understand the life cycle, the life, how life functions on this planet and in this realm, how the whole cycle, okay, on a much deeper level. So you can send that to me at gardenlikeaviking@gmail and put the testimonial as the subject in all capital letters, okay? So I got a filter that can look for that. Put that in there and I would be much appreciated. Thank you. To any of you guys that would like to, if you want to do a video testimonial, that would be awesome too. Okay, just do it like this. Don't worry about how you look. Don't worry about, oh, I don't like myself on camera or blah, blah, blah. Don't worry about any of that. Just forget about all of it. Pretend like you're just speaking directly to me or directly to the tribe, just to your friends. Just make it a minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes if you want. And don't worry about perfecting it, okay? You can even record it and then just stop when you need to think about something. Think about what you want to say next and then say it, present it. And last year, I grew more tomatoes than I ever grew in my life. And before, I was growing in buckets and they were puny, little, kind of pathetic tomatoes. But now we got boatloads of produce, just something like that. And you can stop and then collect your thoughts again. Send the whole thing to me and I can edit out those parts for you if you want, if you don't know how to, edit and stuff like that. So that would be helpful. Okay. Thank you. $6.99. Thank you, my friend. Is that Canadian? You're Canadian. Okay, I didn't know. Thank you, my friend, for the contribution. Yes, yes, yes. Signal loss. This is a universally true occurrence that the yod pha attracts straight up honeybees for some reason. I mean, I've got tons of flowering plants out there, and the yod pha attracts straight up honeybees, and that not to me. I didn't really see the big bumblebees, the black ones, the carpenter type bees, although those are all over the marigolds, swarming the marigold. I mean, all over. We got tons of those, probably more of those than any other type of bee around here, but straight up honeybees. And the thing is, I don't even know where they come from in these like urban and suburban wastelands of just yards where everyone just got, if you see one flower, one little weed, you gotta kill it. You gotta kill it, burn it with a bunch of chemicals or something. Can't have any dandelions or anything at all, just grass, because that whole distorted image has been implanted into their mind by the modern, buy everything consumer culture, poison the land culture. So they have in their mind, my yard has to look like a green carpet, and anything other is dirty. And so you look around here, if you do a Google Earth of my place, it is like an oasis of growth and flowers and life and food in like a desert of just yards. Or some people just let the shrubs grow, okay. But nothing like intentional, no like exploding bounty of color and food for the pollinators. Even the people that, you know, have their heart in the right place, that we got some kind of grant in this neighborhood. This is an old historic neighborhood. This was a 150-year-old neighborhood, something like that. And so one of the first in this city. And so we got like some kind of grant to make pollinator gardens throughout. And so you had to sign up to get your little pollinator garden, and their native flowers and stuff like that. And so last fall, I walked around and I saw all the people that were planting their pollinator garden. They got the native plants given to them. They got they had a day where they went around and somebody rented a sod cutter. They took the sod off for them, and I'm walking around that day, talking to people, talking about this stuff, and they're like, "Oh yeah, you're the garden guy, the YouTube guy." Yeah, yeah. And I'm looking at that, and their whole yard is not got anything in it but grass. And then at the curb, they've got like a little area that's like 3 feet across with no sod on it, and they're planting their little native wildflowers. This is my pollinator garden, and then they have they pound a stick in the ground, pollinator garden. Helping friends of the bees and stuff. And I'm looking at that little patch, and I'm like, in my mind, I said, okay, well, I've done this. Okay, I've been around this world for this industry for a long time. So I knew already that next spring, every single one of those patches would be a patch of weeds. Okay. And so, but I didn't say anything. I didn't say that to them, because it makes them feel good that they're having their little 3-foot radius of little wildflowers for the bees, as if that's going to do anything when all you can see is nothing but grass yards and little ornamental shrubs that don't flower and stuff. So lo and behold, this spring, guess what happened? You walk around and you see these little, every time I drive by, I'm like, Camille, look at that. That, just like I said, that little patch of nothingness, just weeds. All of it just kind of, I didn't see hardly any flowers at all. There was a couple little struggling, wildflowers, but that was it. I'm like, okay, well, at least they feel better. That's what matters, right? At least they feel like they're doing something, but they're not. So take that for what it is. It just gets so that's why I'm like, man, if imagine if everybody, when you see the garden tour and the course coming up and stuff, when you see the garden tour, you're gonna just like, man, if every person, or even any of my other previous years of gardens, if every person did that in their backyard, or at least even every 5th person, then the whole place would be a bountiful oasis for all kinds of pollinators, birds, I mean, praying mantis, all kinds of stuff would be around. And some of the people would plant fruit trees, you know, instead of growing a full garden and stuff. And we all like traded and stuff. That is how it would have to happen. Each individual has to start doing something like this. Otherwise, everything else is just a band-aid meant to make you feel good and meant to use money, of course. The grants is what it was about. So, yes, yes. Nice. Are you going to call it the art of growing? No, but that could be a separate course, a smaller course down the road. But the initial one is the Viking growing system. It's a full-on system. Yeah, start to finish. Yes, thank you. My veggies went berserker this year because of your knowledge. Yes, you got the lyrical thought process down. That's for sure. Thank you. Yes, you put it together today. Thank you. Yes, thank you. Silver Sage says, I look so stupid on camera. I guarantee you don't. But I will try to make a video for your channel. Yes. Thank you. Please do. And the main thing is don't take it too seriously. Okay. Don't, just as far as what you look like and stuff. That takes practice. That you just have to get over. And that's the number one thing. When people are like, "Oh, you're a professional social media person?" And I'm like, yeah. And so oh, I could never do that. I just hate the way I look on camera. And that's like their number one thing is how they look on camera. And I was there, but just have to get over that. That just takes practice, you know. And but most people are not practicing. So when they look at the camera, it's like a deer in the headlights. Um, and they get the public speaking. They start thinking that they're like, so I want to say that thank you to Garden Like a Viking. And they just look terrified. And they're breathing all heavy and stuff. And it's like, no. I just want to put my hand on their shoulder and just say, look, calm down, my friend. Calm down. And just speak to a friend. You know, that's how it goes. Yeah, that Shawnee Gross says, I also was confused where the bees came from in the rental home garden in town. Found out 2 blocks down they had honeybee hives. That's cool. Maybe they do, but no, we're not in that area of town where people are like really thinking about that kind of thing, you know, but they got to come from somewhere. 5 miles? How do they got that much energy? Oh, well, okay. On a trip. Yeah, they'll go out 5 mile route probably. Yeah, it makes sense. And surely, I mean, where did the honeybees live before hives, before commercially made hives? I'm sure just in these big oak trees and stuff. Surely some of them live in these oak trees, and so they're massive, old 100-year-old trees. A lot of these, you know. So there's hawks and stuff like that. Lots of birds in the spring, but surely they got to live in these trees somewhere. Yeah, Lisa T says, one of my neighbors has no trees. Every morning she snatches up any leaves that have blown into her grass, shooting dirty looks at her neighbors' trees all the time. Yeah, that's how they are, because they've just got it in their mind. They're like possessed with some kind of, I mean, that's been programmed into their mind, of course. In no way is that a natural human instinct, because she says, oh, all these sticks blowing in my yard, and all these leaves blowing, everyone's leaves are blowing in my yard. Cut all the trees down because my yard's got leaves and sticks in it. Well, who cares? Who cares? but it's almost like a mental illness when the people are, the sticks in my yard. Well, so what? You know, that's then, and then people want to, if they do have trees, they want to rake every last leaf up instantly and take it off the property. And and then they wonder why their trees are sick, or they just look kind of unhealthy, or they got to come down because they're not healthy, because you're taking away their nutrient source. And even if you chop them up finely, you're taking away the tree naturally wants to mine the minerals that is in the soil, deep in the soil, mine the minerals, transport it into the leaves and stuff, use it to make new tissues and to capture sunlight and energy. And then at the end of the season, boom, it falls to the ground. And year after year of this, it custom tailors the soil around its root zone to be exactly what it wants. It does this by the nutrients that are in the leaves, but primarily, well, not primarily, but equally as important, it does this by attracting the microorganisms and the earthworms. Because think about it, when you go into the forest and there's a thick layer of leaves, everything is nice and moist all the time. And it's like a nice mulch. And so it makes that soil underneath that leaf layer nice and beautiful, not getting burned by the sun, not getting, stuff, toxic chemicals sprayed on it. That is what is meant to happen. If you want perfectly healthy trees, let that happen. Leaves all the way around their drip line, all the way as far out as the tree branches go. That's about as far out as the roots go, give or take. And so you can thick layers of leaves around each plant. But we've been conditioned, oh, that doesn't look good. That doesn't look clean. So, well, okay. It's just a whole different way of living, Obviously, I'm a bit calloused, or no, obviously I'm a bit, something about those kind of people. Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. Chris Miller's, unfortunately, there are more sheeple out there than free thinkers. If more than 50% of the neighbors started doing it, then they would too. It's crazy. Yeah. Oh, absolutely, they would if everybody else was doing it. But everybody else is maintaining their little chemical weed patch. Return to the soil. Did you change your name again? But I would eat deer. Yeah, no problem. It's just that around here there is, unless you own land or you like really know somebody that owns land, it's like all the land is spoken for. As far as the hunters and everything, and so the number one thing is that the deer around here are like really, really GMO soy and corn and soybean fed. So I tend to not be as into it, but I definitely would when we get some land and the deer come across the land. You can guarantee it, absolutely. But am I like going out and trying to do it? No, because I don't have the space to process and stuff like that. I've been a part of doing that when I was younger, and it's wonderful. And in the mountains we did it and stuff, but it's not something that I have the space to do right now here. So, yeah. Yes, Val, thank you. Just give your experience. Just pretend like you're talking to just pretend like you're talking to some friends. Pretend like you're in the tribe talking to everybody, guys. And if you're part of the cleanse tribe, okay, if you got the cleansing course, the Viking cleanse, then I had to redo the community on there because I initially set it up wrong. I set it up right, but now that we're scaling to multiple courses and looking long term down in the future, um, I had to redo it. So there's not a community at this moment, but it's because we are rebooting it into a different format, and you guys are going to love it. So I will just bulk send an email to all of you guys with the new procedure, okay? How to get into the new community, all right? You know, signal loss, I've heard this, and I really wonder how they know that. I mean, how are they so sure of that? And how can we hardly tell anything now with the absolute destruction of all habitat, of all natural habitat? I mean, just take one drive in the Midwest for 2 hours, and you'll just see wastelands where all the trees are just cut down. Drive through Ohio, you know, like Western Ohio into Indiana and stuff, and it's just nothing but what used to be nothing but forest as far as you could see, as far as the eye could see. But now it is nothing but soil. I almost said dirt because it's more like dirt. And then for several months of the year, less than half of the year, it's got crops in it, GMO crops, GMO corn and soybean, but that's it. And so all the habitat, I mean, where everything would have lived, all the flowers that they used to be around, all the different things, and all just gone, all of it totally gone. And so it's not, I mean, it's not surprising that the populations of these insects are in virtual free fall collapse. Gary Smith, $50. Thank you very much, my friend. Appreciate the contribution. Man, tell me you got a question I can answer. Let's see here. Whoops. Missed the last couple live streams. Keep up the great work. All right. Thank you very much, my friend. I appreciate it. Very much so. I was wondering where you were the past couple streams, actually, just because it's so consistent. So thank you very much. And also, you know, let me know as the spring comes about if you need like a, you know, me to come over and do any brainstorming with you or whatever. I definitely can do that. So thank you very much. And oh yeah. Oh wait, 1 second. I gotta check this. I was wondering what that noise is, and it's the Greek rosemary and lemon lamb roast that I have going in the oven because we're going to an early Thanksgiving for one part of the family. Oh yeah. Oh my goodness. Okay, wait 1 second, guys. You're just gonna have to bear with me. And let's see. Okay, so let me take this thing out of here. Boy, this thing is. Oops. Did I just melt the cord to the? Can you guys hear me? Did I just melt the cord to the thing? Now hold on a second. So, guys, I'm gonna use this thing right here. Look, I'm just gonna walk back and show you. This thing's been pretty cool. So we're just gonna use this, although using this, trying to use temperature like all the millennials do now, is to cook something, had me basically ruin 3 massive, thick, delicious filet mignons the other day. Cooked them to medium. It was just atrocious. My uncle was over, and he was, you know, we did a bunch of garden work, and I wanted to treat us all to some filet mignon, and he was being kind and saying, "Oh, it's not that bad," but it was that bad. It was real bad. So let's see here. 156, 157. What is it, guys? 160. The outer part. Ooh. Let's see here. 180. Okay, give me a second. Ooh. Okay. 1 second. I got to finish this. Got to put it back in, I think. Let me see here. I got to check and see what is the temperature supposed to be. When it's done, what's the temperature supposed to be? It's been in there about 3 hours. Now I need to turn that off, actually. Sorry, guys. But you got to do what you got to do when you got to do it. So this is the thing about being live. Let me check real quick what I had down there. Mm-hmm. Okay, so all right, we're gonna go ahead and kick it back on for 1 second because it's claiming 185, 195. Although again, that's the dumbest way. I just can't even believe that that's the new way of doing everything. Is that you do it by temperature. Now, if you get a recipe or something now, they say, well, cook until internal temperature reaches blah blah blah. I'm like, that is the most ridiculous way of cooking anything because it forces you to rely on this silly little gadget instead of learning, how to intuitively read the the cooking, which is the way I like to do it. So cooking to internal temperature, blah blah blah. Well, what if you don't have this little gizmo that tells you the internal temperature? Are you going to stick your finger in there or what? No. So, anyways, let's see here. So, okay. Yes, Big Will Dog says, "Now, I still don't love being on camera, but the nerves of doing it aren't as bad a bit over a year into posting videos. Yes, just start is my advice. The sooner the better. Absolutely. The sooner the better. It also helps if you're comfortable within yourself. If you're confident and comfortable in who you are and what you are in this world, then it's going to make it infinitely easier. Because if you're insecure and sort of uneasy with who you are, then that's going to come out in your relationship with yourself on the camera. It's a strange thing that it does. Man, Doug McCoy, in absolutely no world whatsoever would I compost anything. Oh, wait. Is that okay? Wait. Is that black walnut? My mind read black walnut leaves. I would get as far away from the black walnut tree as possible. If you're trying to grow food, you want nothing to do with any black walnut trees anywhere because they poison the land. And you can hear the sort of resentment in my voice because we're dealing with them at the Viking North plot. It's like somehow, my uncle thinks that it is their native habitat, and it makes sense because they're just exploding everywhere. You don't even have to plant them around there, and they're thriving, massive, huge black walnut trees. But they poison the earth from growing anything useful. And so, unless you're trying to have a black walnut farm, which the walnuts are gross, then you're best to cut it down. Now, I don't know if English walnut is the same. I have no experience with English walnut, so I can't say in any way whatsoever. Tess, what's up, my friend? Says, just found you today. Hello, all. Yes, hello, guys. See, Tess is getting some welcomes here by Val, long-time viewer, definitely. Colorblind gardener, a newer but very regular contributor. Yes. See, Tess says, my old neighborhood's woods and fields were completely destroyed, developed, and lost to overhousing. Oh, yeah, definitely. Guys, when I was young, my dad's house, because I had a mom's house and a dad's house, when I went over to my dad's house, it was like a whole different world because he got me a dirt bike, a little XR 80, Honda 80, when I was like 8 years old. And so he just let me go in the woods. We had like a 600 or 700 acre woods in the back, back there. It was just huge, went on and on and on, connected by a couple farm fields, and then there was no roads or no, I mean, it was just awesome. And me and my best friend at the time, Ben, we lived in those woods. I mean, we literally built forts and camps and stuff and spent the night there. And I'm talking when we were like 12, 11, 12, 13, 14 and 10 even. I mean, it was just awesome building little shelters and stuff. we never even had like actual tents or anything. We just built these shelters. It was just awesome. And then we had pellet guns, the old pellet guns with chunk, chunk, where you had to pump, 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 pump. And then we eventually got 22s. But the pump pellet guns, it's like shooting a musket. It was like shooting squirrels and mourning doves and even raccoons with a musket. Is basically what it felt like, because you missed once and it's like a minute before you're reloading and shooting again. Those were good times in those woods. Taught me a lot of good things. But the reason I'm saying that is because I came back from traveling. I left those woods for a long time, and then came back from traveling, and the whole woods just wiped out to make a couple of factories and parking lots. Just wiped out, just wiped off the face of the earth. Just wham! And then parking lots and factories. Like 2 factories. Just wow, man. Wow. That's why when people, another thing that people don't keep in perspective, when I was first making the JDOM stuff, all these people were telling me, yeah, this is just great. That's exactly what we want to do, is go in and mine our forests for their leaf mold. Talking about taking a couple of 5-gallon buckets of leaf mold. Well, if everybody did that, then we would rape the environment. And taking a couple of 5-gallon buckets of leaf mold in order to cultivate food in your backyard and a thriving soil microbiome. And so they say those things without having perspective. That entire, let's say that woods was 700 acres, 550 of it were just wiped off the face of the earth and turned into a parking lot. So let's keep it in perspective, here. So, yeah. Ooh, nice. Pam says, I know where the bees are coming from. We live 2 houses away from our daughter. Oh, that must be nice. They have a beehive by bathroom air bricks. Nice. Very good. Yes. Thank you, Silver Sage. Says, Nate, you certainly transformed my thinking over the past several years. I am building soil now. Yes, exactly. Queen RB says, some parts of the country, the deer are not healthy. If there's any parts, I would say it's here. I mean, they're massive. They're white-tailed deer. They're not like whatever deer they had in Northern California. These deer were 2 things that were very remarkable about these deer. Well, one that's not that remarkable, but they're very small. They're like half the size of white-tailed deer, But more than anything is that they didn't fear you. They were like they haven't been hunted to extinction. Well, not hunted to extinction, but here the only ones that would survive are the ones that are super leery of humans. Super leery of humans, especially like in the woods, hunters, those would be the only ones that survive, because the hunting pressure would drive that sort of adaptation in the species, the local species. But they haven't been hunted like that. And so they would just be walking little herds of them, 5, 10 of them, about 10 of them. And you could literally just kind of walk out there, not right up to them or anything, but they were just not sure of you. They were just kind of, didn't really care that much. You could get within bow and arrow shooting distance of them, no problem, without any kind of stalking skills. So it was really unique. But again, we're way out. And I'm talking Northern California. I'm talking way out. Think more like the UP of Michigan is what Northern California is like. Man, because I look at, because we're going to be getting land someday once that opens up. And so I just like looking at land in different places and stuff. And I was looking in Michigan for a while, but more like central, on the coast of Lake Michigan, but like more central, not clear up to like Traverse City or anything, but about halfway. So sort of in line with like Grand Rapids, but more towards the coast a bit. But, those, now that my brother's having kids and stuff, and I don't know if we want to move that far away. I really don't. But different land comes up on my phone. I've got like some apps and stuff and so, man, I see them all the time. Just the other day, I saw 210 acres for $300,000. All woods, uh, like a mile, 1.5 miles of riverfront property, 210 acres for 300 grand. I'm like, oh my gosh, no house built on it, just a little cabin. It's used for hunters right now. And I was like, man. And then you go, okay, Google Maps. And then you look at where it's at, and it's like expand. And you see nothing. Expand, nothing. Just the dot. Expand, nothing. Just expand, expand. You see one little highway clear down here. Not even a highway, just like a road. And you're like, expand. And you see it's way out in the UP of Michigan, like way above Wisconsin and stuff, where, basically like Northern California was. I mean, we except even more remote in many ways. Not mountains though, so different. It's different, but the creek, I mean, the river was amazing. Salmon runs and stuff, and the river was just beautiful and pristine. So much pristine wildlife, and the woods was gorgeous. And the price is definitely right. 210 acres for 300 grand. But then you got to think, okay, well, unless I'm trying to like start a commune out there, which we're not, then you're gonna run into the situation I ran into in Northern California, where, okay, well, you're way out away from everybody. You can do whatever you want. There's no building codes up there and stuff. And even if there is, who cares? Who's gonna bust you, or who's gonna check? I mean, there's nothing. And so, but at the same time, okay, the flip side of that is that you're hours away from anything. The closest airport is a 2.5 hour drive, from Northern California, San Francisco. Well, okay, Eureka, I guess, but still, that was like 2 hours one way. San Francisco's 5 hours away. Okay. So you're so far out, 45 minutes just to the gas station. The closest anything where you could buy even gas, 45 minutes one way. So it's a whole different way of living. You're not going to be having like a school where people are going to just come to the closest airport and then find transportation there and stuff like that. It would be like, you'd have to have like 12 kids, and you'd have to have a couple of different families that wanted to go in, and it would be like your own community, which would be cool. It would have its own set of things. I mean, it would be amazing, in many ways. But the trade-offs are, I've lived that life. And so I don't have the same romanticized idea that a lot of people have about moving off grid and stuff, because I know the realities of it. It has its perks, definitely, but it also has a lot of hardships involved with it, that people don't think of until they're in it. And so that's why obviously I would never be able to do that, because then, okay, you're like a 15-hour drive away from family now, because you got to go around Wisconsin, and so none of that would ever work, even though the land and the price is right, it would just never work, so yeah, off-grid is tough. Off-grid's tough. Yeah. So 1 second, guys. 1 second. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yes. Well, this thing didn't even start really going until like an hour into it that I even started smelling it, really. So we'll let it go a little bit longer. Yes. Mark Bass. Yeah. Quite a ways from the UP place, quite a ways. But even then, if you guys have been to the UP, I mean, how you just drive and drive and drive and drive, and it's just flat and it's just woods, for a long time. Country Living says, hello, what is your favorite way to grow potatoes? We've tried standard in-ground, raised beds, potato towers, and just in straw. Again, they all have their pros and cons. They all have their pros and cons. You know, if you're limited in space, or if you can keep up on them and you have a lot of compost, one of the best ways is to grow them just in bags or pots or cloth grow pots of pure compost. That will yield you a lot, but comes with its own trade-offs. You have to water them constantly, you know, or live in a place that's very rainy. They can overheat really quick, you know, so there's lots of trade-offs. The Ruth Stout is the easiest way to do it, basically. You're just throwing potatoes down and covering them with 2 feet of straw, you know, and then it will settle down and stuff. But around here, and I wanted it to work for many years, and I did use this for many years, but you're just inviting 2/3 of your crop to be destroyed by voles and field mice. Voles, moles, field mice, mostly mice and stuff. They'll just, you're creating the perfect habitat, you know, protection from predators and a little underground. It's super easy for them to weasel along in between the earth and the straw. And so the Ruth Stout is great, but over the course of a couple of years, you are creating the ideal situation for pests. So there's several different ways, you know, trench method. It depends on what your goals are, you know, really depends on what your goals are. Leslie says, will you consider returning to NorCal? You know, I did for some time. I mean, just because I love the wildness of it and how amazing, and the redwoods, oh my gosh, and the salmon running in the creeks there. It is still wild there. I mean, as wild as anywhere I've seen in this country. And so, but at the same time, it's just not worth the trade-offs anymore. You know, I was there for a very specific reason. We were making lots of good money at the time, so it was all like worth the struggles, you know. But now to just live there, it would not be. It would not be, and I'd be away from my whole family, and that's the main thing, you know. I mean, I've been traveling all over the world, as many of you know, for quite some time. I did, and so you know, I don't need to be anywhere exotic. I don't like have that drive anymore or that need, you know, because I'm just settled within myself. And so now I can be fine here, you know, or so long as we can get some woods, you know, like 20 or 50 acres of woods would be ideal, you know. But again, this is like prime farm country. So 50 acres of woods is just going to cost hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars, you know, $500,000 or more. I mean, because, well, that could be farmland. Could get some couple row feet out of that. So, no, I don't see myself returning to Northern California. I really don't. Yep. Well, hey, I got enough of you. Maybe we will start a little commune, huh? Thank you, Stone Creek. Yes. Oh man, absolutely right. Queen RB says successful gardening is a lot about logistics. Absolutely correct. Absolutely about logistics and the system that you're using. You know, so many people just. Well, I won't even get into that. Don't even make me get into all that right now because I will go off on a rant. So, man, ground cherries. You want a course on ground cherries? Well, according to everyone on here, you don't need to trellis ground cherries, remember? But they never seen them grown in the Viking growing system because the ground cherries were 10 feet across at least. I'm serious. They were 10 feet across and massive, just buckets of ground cherries all over, totally inaccessible because I took everyone's advice on here and just, oh, Nate, you know you don't need to trellis ground cherries, right? Rookie. No, I've grown them before. And so it's better. One year we used a trellis system that was little, at the time it was laugh. You know what I'm talking about? Like that crisscross stuff, the wooden stuff. And we made it in little V patterns. And the ground cherries were in the center. And so they kind of grew up on those. And you could still reach in between the channel, the teepees of laugh, and to get the cherries, because harvesting them became so difficult. We just forget it. Just you're stepping all over the plants, and it's just like, oh. So man, I even took I even took like a vertical video showing you guys when I tore them out, how I was just ripping them out like this and threw them over my shoulder. We'll post that next year because we stopped posting this year. Yeah. Yeah, big will dog. That's one of the problems, you know. Probably rats, actually. Probably rats. They tunnel. The mice do as well, but the rats are the worst because they'll just dig out and just spread the compost, just kick the compost all over the place. The rats are the worst. But I would evict them, absolutely. If they're just little mice, though, I mean, they do kind of aerate the compost, I suppose. But rats gotta go. Disgusting. Yeah. Country Living says a couple of our grown kids want us to buy land and start our own family commune. Yeah, see, that would be really nice. I mean, that would be nice. It's become almost cost prohibitive. I mean, not almost, but like, man, the cost of doing that would be quite a bit. You know, you'd have to have a good revenue streams coming in for that to really work. And then it takes someone that, and I'm sure you have, but I'm just saying, then it takes someone that really knows what they're doing. It takes experience, because how many times there's like a wave of people after COVID and stuff that moved out to the country, you know, Montana and Wyoming and all, and you hear lots of these stories. Lots of people move out to start homesteading and get in way over their head. And a couple years into it, they're done. They're done. They just sell the whole place with a nightmare in their mind. You know, we're done. This is way too much. So, do you see those? Guys, these things are absolutely looking divine. Now, here's another carrot. Here's another thing we're doing with the carrots. Carrots, ginger, black sesame seeds, etc. Very, very good. This one is turning out to be delicious. Look at that fermentation. That's why I like these lids. They keep the gases in there, but they let it escape slowly. So this is the green onions, some ginger, some garlic, a couple other things. Super flavorful, guys. Put this on top of some baked potatoes or some mashed potatoes folded into them. Wow. The fermentation process makes a whole different kind of tang to it. It's awesome. So, yeah, Queen RB. I always thought shrews were a mythical fairy tale creatures when I was little. Then I grew up and started gardening. Yeah, and then you find them, and they still look mythical. The time with the huge ears on them, the time they're like this big. You're like, man, that looks like a little. Is that a dormouse? Is that what you call that? What's a dormouse from Alice in Wonderland? You know? Yes. Hi, Nate. I was making ginger, turmeric, lemon, honey ferment, and it is delicious. Thank you very much. Can't wait for the gardening course and hope for some discounts for us originals. Oops, timer's up. Uh, you guys will get the pre-sale. you guys will get the pre-sale, half price. So we can't really get any better than that. So yes, that will be coming up for you guys. We're going to pre-sell it and then build it out. I mean, pre-sale, just you'll have access and you'll have it at this price. And then I'm going to finish building it all the course modules and stuff. Everything's filmed, all that over the next month, you know. So. Mom computer. I know you feel kind of bad. I'm not pointing it directly at you though. Don't worry. It's okay. It was my fault. I knew I should have done it. It's not, I'm just giving you guys a hard time because I knew better, you know. Silver sage, yeah. Anything that you can do with an actual, if you have carrots in the ground still or anything, it can be wonderful. Planting something, definitely the garlic would be really good because you can sort of illustrate how you're tucking them in for their long winter nap with putting the straw over the top and everything, definitely. Yes. So, let's see here. Bushcraft Baron. These I just put in the, I think they're in the description of this video. These are outstanding. I got to get some more of these. I love them because they've got a date. You move the date around on them. You see, you can just take the date and it's got a little thing on it that you can twist to what day it is. That really helps me a lot because, you know, sometimes I forget to label the ferments. And because I'll just remember, you know, but I don't remember the date of exactly when it was started. So it's good because we like to let them go for about 3 weeks. Pretty much all of them about 3 to 4 weeks, and then we will put them in the fridge. Yeah, but these are going to take a little bit longer. These carrots, definitely. I think that link is right in the description to the Amazon. If not, they're in my Amazon storefront. You guys can find them there. Yes, Queen RB, Simplify Gardening. Tony, yes, who we've had on this channel. We're going to have him on again, hopefully next year. Really has great methods for growing potatoes. He knows a lot about potato growing, but definitely keep in mind, he is in the area where you could not construct a more ideal climate for growing potatoes than his. Tons of rainfall, lots of overcast, not blazing hot for weeks on end. I mean, they might call it blazing hot, but it's not really blazing hot, you know. So very temperate, you know. So that definitely helps. Growing, I found growing in black plastic containers like he has just gets the potatoes so hot that they want to just stop. They just want to stop production. And several years I shaded them out in certain ways to varying degrees of success, definitely. But it just, if you're in a hot climate, they need the ground. They need the shade and the coolness of the ground. So, no, he was on in the fall time. I thought it was a springtime. Really? Oh, yeah, I think that's how I learned. You want to do it in the springtime. The gardening is super, super seasonal, obviously. So, guys, here's one thing. Let me know some content idea suggestions, okay? What would you like to see this upcoming year? Put it in the comments or put together several of them and then email them to me, whatever it is. Don't put them right here in the comments because it's very hard for me to find them. Put them in the show comments afterwards, you know, the actual YouTube comments. What are some things you would like to see this year? Because come January, I'm going to start making content very regularly again, and we will all season long. So we're going to have lots of content this upcoming year. So we're looking forward to that. Okay. So, all right, guys. Well, we got to get carrying on because I got to make this stuff and get it ready for the Thanksgiving meal, pre-Thanksgiving, Thanksgiving that we're having. Okay. So, all right, guys. Thank you very much, and I will see you next week.